All right, y'all. Bearded Bros Golf Show. We are back for another week. As the thumbnail shows, we are winding down on the golf season. Feels like we're past pretty much any level of significant golf that I personally care about. For introductions, I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
So yeah, this week we had the Zozo Championship going on over in Japan. Our guy Colin Morikawa off the snide. It's been a 2 year drought for him as he went on to win by 6 strokes. I think I tried to stay up and watch it, and by the time I kind of got a track on where he was at, he was up by 4 strokes at that point. So he had gone into the final round down by two. Justin Suh came out the gate struggling. Was three over after turn. So
hmm
Morikawa with the dominating win, able to get back on the board. What do you think about his game trending, man? Every time I see him, just as a note, and see him playing well, it just reminds you of like he's got to be one of the best ball strikers with his irons in the world,
Absolutely.
and he was on it this week. What do you think about my man trending after kind of on the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another one of those players that if he doesn't have a hot putter, what can you really say about Colin? So luckily his putter, his flat stick was working out for him. I think when I finally, just like what you said, I tried to stay up for the coverage and, just got really distracted. And then by the time I got to it, I mean, one of the few strokes I saw, it was a par saver just to kind of, keep the round without bogey and without a mess. And I mean, he literally rode it in center cup. The alignment line literally didn't change any variation. So when you got it rolling like that on greens that are just this pure and that kind of setup, you're gonna always take care of business. And I think as a ball striker that he is, when you're making it into the fairway and you're having, pushed up lies so you can just make clean contact every time, it's gonna make it a lot easier because you saw how hard it was to recover on a par 70 at that from the rough that they had designed, probably an
Yeah,
inch and a quarter, an inch and a half, just stuff that you're not used to playing with. And Adam Scott, who had a very great perspective when they had him on TV Thursday night, so their second round, they had him on coverage with Graham Dillette and the Jeff Savarinkis. They had my
hmm
guy in the middle, and he really gave us just a great player standpoint. And they asked us what the conditions were and what was going on. And he said they had a funny kind of rough. It wasn't a rough that was, like in America, where it either goes all the way to the bottom, you can't find it, or if you're like in the Carolinas and it's that piney stuff where it just sits on top, you can get underneath it. It was kind of in the middle. It didn't always sink to the bottom, but you had to get down there and make sure you popped it out. So you could easily either get a flyer lie or you could get underneath it and just hit like a pop fly off the toe or the high spin, the high part of the face.
yeah,
So just, getting, an introspective view like that from Adam Scott really put it into perspective what Colin Morikawa was doing on the fourth round, hitting all the fairways, not messing with that funky rough and everything like that. So kudos
yeah.
to him.
Even one of the best shots that I saw him hit, and that was featured in kind of the wrap up, was him actually coming out of that rough, and you could tell. I
Yep.
mean, when he struck the ball, the club was buried. I mean, it just kind of disappeared for a quick second until he exited the lie. But yeah, 100% what you said, and he was just completely in control of his game, and to be able to, when put in a position to have to come out of that rough, to still execute, hit the green, and I think within a really tight proximity to the hole. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good inside look at what they were dealing with, and that's true. When you go and play in regions outside of your normal region, like when we've gone to, let's say, Arizona in the fall or the winter, like the overseeded rye is different from what you typically play with the Bermuda at
Absolutely.
home in Texas, or when you go out to California, there's some more dense grasses, some kikuyu. It's just, it's you get different conditions depending on where you're coming from. When I see some of that rough in the Northeast when they're playing, I'm just like, wow, that's some
hmm
thick stuff, and you're just kind of like, how would I play that?
Right.
especially
How do I
around
deal with that?
greens. Yeah. So shout out to Colin Morikawa getting back in the winner's circle. Kudos to him. It's been a rough couple of years after really coming out hot in his career and seemed like he was going to be pretty dang untouchable. This is his sixth career win. Had five, wins and two majors in quick succession within a 2 year span,
Yeah, in 2 years.
and then
Yeah.
went on that drought. Yeah. So, and I think we talk about this, largely this year. There were a lot of first time winners, guys and gals on either side that we were seeing how they were going to, deal with their success. And I think Colin Morikawa is a good example of someone who gets hot, comes out, you look at them like they're going to be the next, and you see very little weaknesses in their game. And then I don't know if it's just that people get comfortable with that success and that money, or what the heck happens where they can't really find it again for a couple of years. Even though he's played solid golf, he's not been playing winning golf. So
Very true.
anyway, another one that hadn't been as long for her, Minji Lee playing over in Korea this week, on the LPGA tour,
Yes, sir.
also took home a trophy. It always trips me out seeing her. She's, born in Australia. And so when I hear her talk and I see her, it just, my brain just has a moment of, oh, she's,
You
her
just
and her
don't think
brother,
about
they're both
that.
Australian. No. With a lot of Koreans that have moved over to Australia, New Zealand, it's pretty common, but it just your brain has to reconcile it when you see it and hear it. So
Yeah, for
small
sure.
side note, small side note. Our hometown Texas Rangers in real time just went up 2 runs or three on 2 runs, 3-1 on Houston with a home
Yeah.
run. So shout
I'm
out to the Texas Rangers.
I'm trying to keep the eyes from perking over, but it's
No,
tempting.
it's right in my left hand
Oh
side. So
man,
definitely taking a look at that. So we'll update as we go along throughout the show. I knew it was going to be tight, competing with football and baseball today. So
very much
uh,
so.
y'all get to hear this on the replay. But yeah, Minji Lee also back in the winner circle. I think she won early 2022. Hadn't
Yep.
been as big of a gap for her. Um, what do you think about her trending? Actually, I lie. I lie. Not
She
really
won
off
that
the
playoff
snide.
versus Charlie
Yeah,
Hall.
this is her second win in her last three starts. So
Yeah.
correction. Prior to that, it had been 2022. What do you think about her trending, back in the right direction? Only 27 years old. A lot of golf left for her to play.
I think the LPGA is so scary because you never know when they're going to go on a run like that, especially like a talent like Minji Lee. I mean, when you're that disciplined with your swing mechanics and everything that you do as far as practice regimen, traveling, and everything like that, I mean, when they get hot, they get hot. And like Minji
Yeah,
Lee is no exception. She really is one of the players that once she's rolling, it's scary to see how far and how much she can win and how deep she can go because there's not anything wrong with that swing. And as far and just another one of those guys, or I mean, sorry, gals with a smaller stature, but really just pounds the golf ball. I mean, she has such a width to her swing and a high back swing, and then comes through with so much speed. Plays a high draw, can play it both left and right. I mean, I just don't have a lot of bad things to say about Minji Lee, and she is making home in Dallas. So again, you always love to see a lot of DFWs, get it going. So a lot of
yeah.
kudos to Minji.
And we talked a little bit about this offline a couple of weeks ago, just about the Asian tour on the LPGA and them getting a chance to stay on one side of the planet for a full month.
Yeah,
Depending on if you want to play all of those events and you're just hopping, within Asia. So they started off in China. They were in Korea this week. They're going over to Malaysia and then finishing out in Japan. So a really strong swing, and then they'll have their closing two tournaments back over here in the States. So they are, four tournaments until the end of their season, the CME Globe. I would say I'm not really, I don't know, like their end of the season doesn't necessarily culminate in the same fanfare that we do with the FedEx, but still some meaningful golf for them to play. I think just based on points, Lily Avu is probably near the top of that list, and I would
Yeah,
imagine Celine Boutier also winning a major. That there's not a lot of competition. Left to be played on their end unless somebody gets really hot, has some high finishes. I think Lily Avu's probably got this thing locked up, even though she struggled throughout the summer. I will look that up in real time and come back to it. But one other thing that I noticed, just kind of looking through the landscape this week, another championship that was already locked down is the Charles Schwab on the Champions Tour. Steve
sure.
Stricker didn't even play this week. Won 6 events throughout the regular season. Has already locked up their year-long championship on the Champions Tour.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that domination, where you don't even have to play in an event and you're able to close out a year-long championship?
Just thankful to finally see somebody knock Bernhard Langer's slow pace ass off the block. Please get him out of here.
Okay,
That
random,
boy,
super
he
random.
be getting it
I saw
through.
him. I saw him last week, Bernard Langer. I've been bitching earlier in the year about feeling like he was really anchoring his putter still. I
Yeah.
noticed somebody said something to him. There was a noticeable gap between his previous putter grip. I'm telling you, I saw it last week
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, somebody has said something about that.
I'm dead because you already know. It's like you can tell there's a little leeway between Adam Scott, Lucas Glover, Bernhard Langer. It's always in question.
Yep. It's a
Hmm.
little tight. A little
Little
tight.
tight, little snug. Not seeing a lot of airspace there, but
Okay. Well, hell, let me, I said I was going to come back. I was going to look these CME standings up,
yeah.
and it actually is closer than you would think. So let's count. I mean, really, there's a huge gap between the fifth position and fourth. Jin Young Ko is in fifth position with 1,911 points.
Okay.
Hugh Ju Kim is in fourth with 2,351. So there's a big gap, bigger gap between those two. Rioning Yin from China is third place. She's got 2,412. And Lily Avu is actually in second place and fell back a spot this week. I don't know if Boutier got it in this week and picked up some points, but Lily Avu at 2,481 and Celine Boutier at 2,576. So she's almost
Wow.
got a 95 point lead on Lily Avu going into the tail end of their season. So Vu is going to have to actually get some rounds in. I think that summer actually did hurt her. I think had she competed a
Yeah.
little bit, better during the summer, that she would have that lead and maybe even have a bigger separation. But
Yeah.
there's still something left for them to play. I'll, be tuning in, especially with this late night golf that they're playing over in Asia these next couple of weeks. It's been cool to stay up late and catch some golf live, watching the
Yeah.
ladies overseas. So, um, speaking of you know, season ending results. Live Golf is wrapping up their season this weekend. I think whatever team your boy Bryson DeChambeau is on is they won the team championship last week.
Smash GC or something like that.
Whatever they are, yeah, I don't know the teams, which says something about the team format. I mean, uh, I will get into it in a little bit. I had a live troll coming at me this week about our discussion last week.
I saw
It
that.
was very spirited. But let's look at this little weird, collage I put in from last week with Greg Norman presenting Taylor Gooch, who won the individual championship award or championship for their league. So bring this up here, and I started at the end. We have Greg on his knees, presenting like a weirdo. A little more camaraderie in the back here. I'm gonna show this one dude's like
Who are these randoms behind him?
The guy on the right in the blue. I think these are all the players. So it's like,
They don't look
you
like
know,
players.
no.
Sergio
I
don't look like
mean,
Sergio.
no.
Oh, you know what? All black is
Chikara,
yeah. All black is the guy that Tiger Woods walked it in on from like 2 feet out.
Abraham
Um,
Answer.
yeah.
We
See,
have
already don't know his name.
Brendan. I'm, oh God, South African on the left, far left there. I'm forgetting who's next to
Grace, Brendan
answer.
Grace. Yeah.
Brendan Grace. I have no idea who's in the white shirt. Oh, that's probably Matt Jones, white shirt behind Gooch. Yeah, man. I think this is a good segue. So let's pull
A
up.
lot of premier players are trying to go to the live though right now. Yeah, sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, exactly. So let's pull up this guy that really wanted to sell me on the live concept, and it
Saw the
was very
comments too, by the way.
very very condescending. I just I made an angry video about it, and then ended up not posting it because it was very ranty, and I'm still debating on whether to address this type of commenter because I've gone pretty long time with this channel not having to deal with this type of commentary. But something about Liv gets people, it sticks in their craw and they take it personally as if
Yeah,
Liv is paying them to come on people's page and comment. So guy starts off with, I just ran across your channel for the first time. Your take on Liv was so disappointing. Already I was just like, hey, bro, you don't know me and I don't know you for you to have any disappointment or have any expectations for me
right.
because we don't know each other. This is
Very limited content on Live as well, by the way. Let me just point out that as much as we are quote unquote haters of Live Golf, how much do we actually bring it up on a week by week basis between me and you, and then also on your own? How much time do we really delve into this despite the amount of hours and things that we do in the background to try and understand where they're coming from? Because again, what do we always say? We aren't coming from a perspective of just pure hate. We're trying to
mm-mm,
understand what the positives and where this, kind of tunnel is going to go to see what trajectory is going to go. We don't want
yeah,
it to be disappointing. We want good golf to reign in good golf wherever it may be. But this
yeah.
product that they're putting out, again, as you and I always conclude, is just not a very successful product at the moment. But again, continue. My apologies.
No, it's totally true, and that's the gist of it. Is that have we said things about it? 100%. Have we, and he goes on to just accuse me of not giving it a chance, and I'm like, man, I've been commenting on Live since before July last year when it was very clear what they were going to be doing and where this was
Right.
all going. So I've given it a chance. He said in his own comment that he's watched about 8 events. Same, considered going, schedule
Okay.
didn't work out. Like, dude, I've watched more than you if we're talking honestly. Um, I've that's and his type of commentary on this. Also, he's like, you need to find some live leaning opinions. I follow several people on Twitter who support Live, and it's more of this. It's not very substantive. It's like you have these emotional arguments, and it's like, give it a chance, give it a chance. I have given it a chance. I don't like it. It's poor golf. They have some good golfers, but they have about 10 really good golfers that you're like, okay, I miss them. And you wish they would, merge back over and it would improve the product of the PGA Tour. I'm going to take this down because it's just like, I get like your anger, like I get your anger because that's how I was feeling when I was responding to this crap.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I mean, let's go through it. I'm going to count on my finger. Who do we care about? Like that's still has a lot of game left. You know, I'll give it. Bryson DeChambeau early in his career. DJ, really good. When Brandon Grace is on his game, the man pours in birdies like nobody's business. He's really good. Um, I mean, I
Really
can
took
give
the
or
reins
take.
for South African golf. Really did. I mean, he took over for
Yeah,
Charles and Louis like it was nothing.
right. I mean, Louis can't stay healthy long
Right.
enough, you know,
Has
to
to
get any
travel with his
momentum.
own. He's got to travel with his whole house with him just so he can be comfortable on tour events. So
Right.
yeah,
Of course, I'm not going to bury the lead. Kepka, we want him back
we
over.
love Brooks.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
we love Brooks. We love Brooks for his game and his attitude, and he will also speak, you know, the truth about live and just telling these guys to play better.
Right.
You know, who else? Jocko Neiman, would love to have him back on the PGA Tour. Highly talented, you know, young. Um, you know, Sebastian Munoz. Who else? Shakara is like okay. Um, who's the guy who choked in the was it US? No, it wasn't the US Open. It was the PGA in Tulsa with the had the lead all the way going down. I can't even remember him now.
Mito Pereira.
Right? Did we
Yeah.
miss him? I mean, no. Dude had one, you know, day in the sun. You know, didn't wasn't able to close the deal, and you know, left the next year.
Yeah.
So
But made it on
I,
full
I'll
swing though.
I'll give them 10. I hadn't made it to 10, but I'll give them there's 10 players out of their 48 or however many they have
Yeah.
that we actually want back. The rest of them, nobody cares about at this point.
Yeah.
Which kind of talks about this, you know, PGA Tour and Saudi PIF. Let's kind of put the live part aside, besides some comments that Phil made this week. That the framework agreement could be in trouble. They have, you know, an artificial deadline of December 31st, but a lot of these deals end up getting extended on the business side of things and you can create another deadline. But, you know, with world events, the stuff that's happening over in Palestine and Israel and them going back and forth, Mohammed bin Salman, MBS for short, has, you know, come out in support of Palestine, which, you know, the US takes the stance, you know, from a general standpoint that we support Israel. So that's become a tough, you know, position because it's not just about the golf side of it, it's the world politics.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so it's deep. It's deep, and it's not
Yeah.
just, you know, negotiating within, you know, your own country. You know, you're talking about a lot of factors that are outside of the world of golf. What do you think? Do you think this thing is going to make it to the finish line, or are we going to have a whole year of much to do about nothing? I will put one side note before I let you speak and kind of give your opinion on this, is that the PGA Tour, they think that even if the Saudi deal falls apart, that they feel like they've been able to negotiate and arrange for about $2 billion of cash to be injected into the organization. So while the Saudi money is going to be much more than that, and you know, an additional source, they think they have, you know, there's a couple of other private equity guys hanging around wanting to invest. But do you think that the Saudi part of it will come to the finish line?
um, for the benefit of golf and people wanting to play for bigger purposes, I hope so. But when it comes down to it, and unfortunately, things always go political, things never stay true to what it should be, which is in this case the game, the sport of golf, then you just never know which one is going to be. And I try to be as neutral as possible about things like this. So I want to say I want it to go through, but when America is so pro-Israel and these, you know, backers and financial people that are trying to give us money are saying that we are, for the land of Palestine and the people of Palestine, that might get in the way of these things. So we might have another, again, like we were saying in previous episodes, we might have a year of litigation again. We might have to just keep going through this to make sure this all goes through swimmingly. But worst case scenario, we keep going, find somebody else to back it, live, dissipates as it is anyways, and they find different places to play golf for higher purses. Either way it goes. And again, I respect people going to where the money is. There's nothing wrong with that. I wholeheartedly agree with you. You want to play for bigger purses and still have a life and still do what you need to do, be my guest. But again, like what has happened, there are penalties to these, things that aren't, you know, foolproof. So
Yeah.
you go to a startup, the startup doesn't work out. And again, we were talking about it. I think I brought it up just randomly about that one of those dental offices that you used to work at that was kind of a startup.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the check started bouncing. I don't know if this is really going to fall through. Something like
Yeah.
that might end up happening. That's the things
Yeah.
that we're going to be dealing with unless they get this thing settled up. So it's going to be scary hours for those guys across trying to play, 14 events and not really lock in like they should. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of complicated factors that I'm not gonna
so
say
complicated.
I know it all. I know it all, and if it's gonna make it to the finish line, so we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they're not gonna meet the December 31st deadline. I think that's
Hmm.
pretty much a given. There's just not enough ground that's been made up at this point. But quick little kind of mention of the Phil comments, leading into their season finale, just saying that there's a lot of guys and fewer spots available. That there's a lot of interest. I think even Greg Norman, came out. He's really been in the shadows since the announcement of this kind of framework deal and really not made any public comments up until this week, just saying, Liv's going to continue to go on. Um, I don't know about all that. I think that the PGA Tour has done whatever they've needed to do to lock down. I think it's about five players that I think would have changed the equation and shifted the balance. Tiger Woods going over would have devastated it. The
Yep.
PGA Tour. Him and Rory. They no longer want Rory because he's been such an outspoken, proponent. If he ever shifts over to live, I don't think he'd ever live that down. No pun intended. And they've gone on to form the TGL League, which they continue to sign up players and get people involved in that. We'll see how that concept comes together. They've been able to retain John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas. I think those are the key names
Yeah.
that move the needle over here in the U.S. And if other players outside of that defect, I don't think it hurts the PGA Tour in any way. We see the stars continuing to be bred. We learn new names. We see people performing at a high level, trying to get that popularity and that success. That I think it will pan out just fine. I do want to play a video that I found on Twitter from my golf spot, and I think it pretty much encapsulates what we've been expressing about this. Like really quickly, it's like a 25-second clip. So let me pull this up.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Hmm.
Okay, we're gonna go full screen.
We don't, yeah, we're totally on board with your like it doesn't work like that. The world has never worked like that. You can't expect to come in. There's no situation I can go into and say, hey, look, I know you've been doing things a while, you have an established process, but you need to change just for me because I need to be different to succeed. So if you could just adapt to my needs, I would really appreciate that. The guy that expects you to do that, he's a dick. We don't, yeah, we're totally.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I was like, that is absolutely perfect. I couldn't have said it any more simply and better than he did. And yeah, man, you don't step into somebody else's, house and say, hey, They let's say they have a rule where they don't allow shoes past the front door, and then you just kind of saunter yourself onto their carpet or whatever with your shoes.
Right.
I mean, who would respect that? It's outside of this, normal thinking. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna beat the lives thing anymore. We did it last week. It brings the haters out. Apparently, it gets people emotionally stirred up, where they want to type paragraphs in the comment section. So we'll keep it rolling. You down with that?
I'm down.
All right. So team golf, seems to be catching fire, and I don't know if that's a overreaction to the live concept, but we have the Grant Thornton Invitational coming up at the end of December, kind of mid December, I should say. And the Champions Tour is like creating their version of the Ryder Cup, which it seems like it's still in its early stages, or they're rolling the player selections out real slowly.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this damn team golf? You here for it? Do you think it? I mean, I don't think it's gonna move the needle per se,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I think every league having its own version of a Ryder Solheim Cup makes sense. I kind of like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Uh, I am a protagonist for team golf, but again, it's much like what I was saying with match play and things like that event. If you do it so much, then it oversaturated it and it becomes not as appealing. But when you do
Yeah,
the one offs every year, the annual events, just like you would like the memorial, just make it a once a year type deal. Now, if you got an event that's a team event in March, then you got another team event in April, then you got another team event in May. Then you skip July, you skip August for majors and playoffs, then come right back to it in September for either the President's Cup or Riders' Cup. Then, as the season diminishes, you go fall event. Then, oh, we need something to get their attention again. So, November and December and January, we have team events again. All of a sudden, it's like, well, was everything a team event? Like everything doesn't need
right.
to go as it goes. But if you're, looking for views and all of a sudden, end of the season, yeah, I absolutely am down for it. Now the Champions Tour is a little bit comical to me because again, older gentlemen trying to play, they're trying to play a condensed season. They're trying to get all
Yeah,
their stuff in good weather, make it happen, and it's probably a slow rollout because these guys is like, wait, you want me to play more golf in December? Ain't ain't the Charles Squad playoffs ending in November? What we doing in
yeah, they're
December?
done.
You know
Yeah,
what
they're
I'm saying?
done at the beginning. I don't know. And then the player, I think the first one announced, or one of the first few on the American side, was Jerry Kelly. I don't. I mean, I watched Jerry Kelly because he pretty much tees it up every damn week on the Champions Tour, but
Right.
he doesn't get you excited. I don't know, man. Uh,
I
yeah,
mean,
I
I'm
don't
not
know about
seeing
this
it.
Champions Tour.
I'm not seeing it. But again, you got so they have three teams going all at the same time, and it's going to be a best ball. So 2v2v2. So again, that's going to draw eyes to it. But I mean, most of these guys, they're trying to get to their Florida homes or their Arizona homes, or go out to the islands and relax, and then come
Yeah,
back
take a
in
couple.
February and play
Yeah,
in 80-degree Arizona weather. What they
yeah.
not trying to really do all this. So I think
I
this
know,
is
I
just
know.
yeah. I just think they
I don't
need
know
to
about the
do better
champions.
planning for the schedule. Exactly. If
What do you think
other than
about
that,
this?
I think
Because what do you
what
think about this? The Ryder Cup and President's Cup has Americans, playing every year now.
yeah.
Um, the President's Cup roster seems to be a little bit light. People really gear up for the Ryder Cup. What do you think? I mean, the President's Cup came later. What do you think about eliminating the President's Cup and possibly bring in more international players into the Ryder Cup? A lot of the guys, the guys from Asia will not be able to participate currently in the Ryder Cup. What do you think about opening that up and killing the President's Cup?
I don't like it. I now don't get me wrong. I don't like that all of these events are America versus the world and stuff like that. But I mean, that's just the bully mentality that the USA has. It's honestly
Yeah,
pretty annoying
American
sometimes.
exceptionalism.
It's honestly annoying sometimes, and I can speak to that. So again, for all the people that think we're just USA all the way, it's not always the case. Again, Ryder Cup, love it. Historically, USA versus Europe, I love it. President's Cup, it like why does it have to be the President's Cup? Name it the International Cup and have it to where the Canadians, the South Americans, and the North Americans can come together via despite USA and then go against Australia and Japan and Eastern Asia and countries like that. Then it'd be an
But
international cup and I'd be all for that.
yeah,
No
but that's
American.
the reason. The reason it came about was because we weren't dominating the Ryder Cup, so we had to think of something else to kind of supplement
Yeah,
and
I
kind of
know.
reassert our dominance. It's just it is
It's
a
goofy.
bit annoying sometimes. We could do better at, it's just not possible to be number one at everything. It's just not
Right.
possible, right? So kind of give up the ghost. One last story actually from the Ryder Cup. Lucas Glover, went on a Sirius XM PGA Tour podcast to kind of talk, I'm sure about all things golf his season.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest clips came from him wanting to, have played in the Ryder Cup. So I'm going to pull this up and also validating something that we made an early call on.
Yep.
They lost, but yeah, I would have liked to have been there, and I think I could have brought some different things to the table. But it broke my heart the week after to hear about how splintered the room was, and the things about money and different things. That's not at all what the Ryder Cup stands for. And I'm not just going on what I've read and been told. I've talked to some people that were there, and in the fight, and it breaks my heart to hear that, because that's not what it's about. It's not what it stands for, and it's not why I want to play on that team.
Man, I wanted that dude on the team. I felt like he had something to offer that team room. What do you think
Something
about his
off.
comments here?
I oh, so we were going. You sent me the notes this morning. And I was just going through them, and love everything about Lucas Glover, and it was like what we were talking about when we went through the list originally. I felt like just like if Lucas would have had one more hot week, like if he would have played crazy good in the FedEx Finals, there's no way they leave him off of the captain's pick. And
Yeah.
with his older style mannerisms, he would have been perfect for these guys. An even kill guy, definitely fighting straight for his country. And it's also comical to me because it's like he said in it, he's talking about we're not talking about money. We're talking about going out and beating these Europeans. That's all we need to be talking about here. It just made me laugh because in my head and in my heart of hearts, I know he means well, but that's what I'm getting from it. It's
Yeah.
straight up like straight country. Like, no, this is about America versus everybody else, and we're gonna do what needs to be done. But
Yeah.
honestly, that's what the young kids need to be thinking, though. That's what we need
Yeah.
to be getting back to. That's why when Cantley came out and was trying to be all oblivious to the fact that he ain't have no hat on and wasn't really, supporting the guys, that's what we were looking at. So wholeheartedly love everything Lucas Glover is about and what he was talking about because agreed on all of it, on all points. I like what he had
Yeah.
to say
Me
for
too.
sure.
He seems just like a solid, no BS type of guy that he would have just,
Exactly.
pulled him, snatched him up by the collar, as old
Hey,
school folks used to say.
hey, we're not going to do that. No, you're not going to talk to that caddy like that. We need to be focused on our game. I love him. And you don't think I think Cam Young would have been good too. Like we talked about, man. I don't think they're left off again. But who says Lucas Glover
No.
plays this well again to get into, 20
I
2025
mean,
Ryder Cup.
he'll be.
But Cam Young will be here,
I mean, he'll be 2 years older. Yeah, he'll be 2 years older. Hopefully, he's able to, maintain this level of play.
or at least just do it
Keep his
for a
putter
year.
hot. Yeah. Well, no, he's got to keep the points going, for that second year. So,
That's
you
true.
know,
That's true.
hopefully he keeps that putter hot and it continues to be the weapon that it was down the stretch for him. I mean, he's going to hit it close, and I don't think his ball striking is going to fall apart at any point in time. He
You're
just
right.
needs that putter to remain hot. So,
You're right.
really, the last thing on my list is talking about this Grant Thornton Invitational coming up in December, and maybe kind of the remaining tournaments left on the PGA Tour. But just kind of the confirmed teams they're looking. I think they were going to do 16 teams for the Grant Thornton, the combined PGA and LPGA tour event. They have the Canadian team, Corey Connors and Brooke Henderson.
Okay.
Just announced this week we have Joel Damon and Lily Avu. She said she became a fan of Joel Damon after watching the Full Swing series. I like this one. Jason Day and my girl Lydia Ko, even though she's had a horrible season this year. I like the Australian connection there.
Yep. New
And we have
Zealand.
Tony
Let's
Finau.
be
Yeah. Oh,
let's
New
be
Zealand. You're
let's
right.
be
You're
politically
right.
correct because you know how they get.
Sorry. 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 We have Tony Finau and Nelly Corda. I like that one.
Yeah.
And we have Ricky Fowler and Lexi Thompson.
To
These are
replace
some
us for
really,
Corda.
yeah, these are some really good matchups so far.
Yep.
And Sahith Tigala and
Yep.
Rosang. That's a good one. They're both young gunners from California. I'm
I'm mad.
excited about this Grant Thornton, man.
I'm mad about that.
Why?
Rosang, you were too cool to be with that Tagala fella. You were too cool.
You know what? The only better matchup for Rosang would have been Max Homa. In my, just
I
from a
need that.
California standpoint,
I need
that
that.
would have been awesome. So I'm interested to see if they'll just have fillers going on. But I mean, being able to pull Lily Avu this week and close that one out, I think was a really strong. I think the more with these good matchups that more people will be interested in signing up. So I'm very interested to see how they'll fill out the remaining 10 teams, and they got a few weeks to get that going. But yeah, I think that's one of the few things that I'm actually really excited about coming down these last
Agreed.
2.5 months of the golf season. And on the PGA Tour, they are also starting to wind it down. We have the Worldwide Technology Championship coming the first week of November. We're not going to see any PGA Tour golf this coming week. The Butterfield Bermuda Championship following that. The RSM Classic that's in St. Simon Island, Georgia. And the Hero World Challenge the weekend of Thanksgiving. And then we're done from the PGA Tour until the Century Tournament of Champions in January. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we are really on the sunset side of the golf season. There's both simultaneously, it's slow, but a handful of things that matter that are going to happen in the next couple of months as well. Anything that we didn't talk about that you want to touch on or expound upon?
Well, in Homer fashion, I have to ask you, do you think the pitch at Garcia was intentional or not?
Oh man, that is tough to say, right? Because the situation that they were in at the time, did it make sense to put him on base? Nah, not really.
Thank you.
Um, just
Thank
because
you.
they were already down, it doesn't really make sense to put him on base. Even though
Yeah.
clearly his last time at bat he had hit that home run, and I
The
mean, I don't know.
backflip
Base
and
base
everything.
baseball. Yeah, that's why I never could fall in love with baseball. There were too many rules that were unwritten, And,
Right,
just the egos. Like, dude, if I take you yard, I'm gonna celebrate. I'm
right, and
sorry.
that's
That's what it is.
exactly that's the thing to me. It's like, brother, if you want these younger guys to, it's just like growing the game of golf. You want it to be fun. You want younger crowds to get into it. Make it fun. So if I have to sit
Yeah.
here and hit a clutch home run for my hometown team, where I haven't really produced all playoff series against my in-state rival,
Yeah.
the returning World Series champions, and I can't gloat a little bit, count me out. Count me out, bro.
Yeah. Um, Alvarez for the Houston Astros, man. He's been kind of
The
raking a little
best
bit.
bat, the best bat in MLB. Period. I don't want to hear any arguments about anybody else. He has the best bat in the MLB without question. Now,
Yeah.
as far as the most clutch, it's Altuve, and
Always.
you see it all the time. There is no hate in my blood for them. I don't care what anybody has to say. Now,
You can't
I
hate it. It's
You can't. It's winning. They're winning. And if you want to talk about the allegations, there were nine other teams mentioned in that report besides Houston. And the Dodgers were one, the Yankees were one, the Red Sox were one. A lot of prominent teams that got put under the microscope, and they got fines and heavily penalized too. But we only talk about the Astros because they won it. So a
yeah.
lot of saltiness involved in that I don't like about it. But again, I just wanted to make sure that the neutral in you could see that that pinch wasn't intentional. Also,
No, it wasn't
last
intentional. I think it
thank you.
screwed up the Rangers though mentality.
It did.
They
Oh,
took
they're gonna
they
choke.
they 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 expended a lot of energy, and then the waiting around afterwards while they made the decision.
Yep.
Um, like it took the
Hmm.
focus. It shifted their focus, and I wish that it just didn't happen. But yeah,
Yeah. Last but not least, I love the Zozo, but also very sad that it took over live coverage for the LPGA, which is what we had just been talking about. Because of course, them being in the Eastern Asia, realm, it was going to be at that same time. But with
yeah,
us being in Japan, not going to be able to do dual live coverage unless it was on like Peacock or something like that. But again, next week we'll be right back to live coverage for the LPGA, which we'll love
yeah,
again. But it's just what we were talking about. We're expounding upon LPGA, wanting it to open up, and then this happens. Just it's a little
yeah,
bit of teeter and stuff to kind of cool the momentum, which I don't like because we just what did we just see? We just saw a great playoff, a great final round between Lilia Vu and Angel Yin, just for none of the rounds to be covered on live, and we have to catch the
right.
replay the next day.
Yeah, and then you
Funny,
don't,
funny.
if your schedule doesn't match up, or you've already kind of spent your golf time watching the
Exactly right.
Zozo. I mean, I agree. I don't know if it's just, getting with the PGA and saying, "Hey, can you push the Zozo back?" Or I don't know. Hell, all they, or forward, I should say, pushing
Yeah,
it forward. They changed kind of when they play the Asian swing. You got to work with your partners. I think hopefully in the coming years they are more strategic about that partnership and doing
exactly.
things that benefit both sides of it, not just the PGA Tour alone. So
Let's look.
look,
Let's look. Let's see. Tokyo. Let's see. Tokyo, Japan. It is 10:50 a.m. right now. You're telling me you can't get these early morning rounds, put the coverage on from 8 p.m. our time, 9
yeah.
p.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. or whatnot? You telling me you
Oh
can't
no,
move it up? You get morning rounds
no,
instead of these afternoon
that
rounds?
they were prioritizing the a Champions Tour event, which I think had a couple of weather delays. I was getting a bunch of
True.
alerts on my app.
Yeah,
So, oh yeah, they got to get off the Champions Tour stuff. Like, I don't know if there's just a TV deal out there that causes that to happen where they don't, try to
they love
squeeze in
Steve
some
Stricker.
coverage. Who didn't play? Um, as we sign off, Rangers just gave up a run. Still up 3-2. Just come on, Rangers.
Yeah.
Come on, Rangers.
At least take it to 7, man, before you rip our hearts out, man. But looking forward to Mavs. Looking forward to my Mavs too. Wednesday on ESPN, playing the
Is
Spurs,
this
playing
start of the
Wimby
season?
Goat. Yep.
Okay.
Wimby Goat v Dallas to start it. We'll see if Luka's gonna be healthy. You know, he's nursing that same calf,
Hey,
so we don't know.
he looks slight. Maybe that maybe the extra weight was protecting his muscles. So I
I
don't know. We'll
told you
see
what
what.
happened. So first of all, 7-7. Shout out to Rod. My boy's birthday is also Luka Doncic's day because he's 77. But you know he proposed on that day, and guess what?
No way.
He ended up losing the weight, not for FIBA, so he could look good in his engagement pictures. Prove me
Oh,
wrong.
Luca.
Prove me
These new
wrong.
these new age athletes. I believe it. I
Prove
believe
me
it.
wrong. Uh-huh. He had to look good for them pictures. Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. Bearded Bros Golf Show signing off for the week. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Peace.